Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros.
I like the fact that Nick Nurse chose Philly because of Joel Embiid. And if I had to guess what's going through his mind, I think it is that Nick Nurse probably watched the Sixers offense and probably thinks that he can get a lot more out of this offense than the coaches that were here were getting out of this offense. I really think that's probably where he's at with it. You know, he probably looked at this and said, wow, they have a nucleus. They have a physically dominant scoring center at their disposal who you can use to suck in the defense, pause, and make teams retreat to the three-point line. You know, Nick Nurse, he's had one top 25 in three-point attempts per game team in his tenure, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. He preaches. One of the main things he does is run and shoot threes. The one thing that Doc Rivers, for whatever reason, didn't do. The one thing that Brett Brown, for whatever reason, with the roster that he had back then, the Al Horford, Embiid, Tobias, Ben Simmons, just terrible roster. No shooters, no spacing. You know, they weren't focused on the one thing, man. The one thing. 8 years of the process. Joel Embiid's in his 6 seasons. And there was nobody in charge that just did the obvious, bro. The obvious. This team, with a player like Joel Embiid commanding the paint, should probably lead the NBA in three-pointers attempted. That should be number one, bro. Give the ball to the big guy, make the defense collapse, and shoot some damn three-pointers. It's 6 years. 6 years, a guy in charge couldn't come up with that brilliant idea to shoot a bunch of wide open threes because Joel Embiid commands the paint. Nick Nurse had his team up there every season in three-pointers attempted without a guy like Joel Embiid commanding the paint. He probably looked at this like, this is going to be a cakewalk to get these three-pointers off. I get to coach a guy like this. I'm already good at getting a bunch of wide open threes off. Now I get a guy like Joel Embiid to use. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. I think that's the main reason he took this job. Because he sat back and looked at this roster and said, how in the hell do they have Joel Embiid? And they are 17th in the league in three-pointers attempted. That doesn't even make any sense. And that's the main thing I like about this guy. It's the modern NBA. It's the modern NBA. You flat out have to shoot three-pointers. We had a game against the Boston Celtics where they shot 51. And the Sixers shot 27. I don't care how much talent you have. I don't care what the philosophy is. I don't care what it is. You're not winning a game in today's NBA when one team's shooting 51 threes and you're shooting 27. That's simple math. 3 is more than 2. You know, whether you go the Greg Popovich route and hate the new NBA, it doesn't matter what you think of it. That's just what it is. You have to shoot threes. Now listen, 370 in here. Hit the like button. Nick Nurse is a winner. I want you to understand that from a very simple perspective. He is a winner. Not just in the NBA. Nick Nurse has 2 championships in the BBL, the British Basketball League, and people look at that like, you know, people will look at foreign leagues and think that doesn't matter because it's a league with less talent. Like when you look at, okay, this player did this in the Euro League, and you can say, okay, but will he be great in the NBA? You know, we don't know if his talent will transfer from dominating guys of that caliber to this caliber. But when a coach was in a foreign league and he won 2 championships in the BBL with 2 different teams. Then he came over here, he won a championship in the G League. Then he got promoted in Toronto and he won a championship on the main level. So he's coached different talent, different levels of talent, different style of basketball, the British Basketball League. He won championships over there. He came over here and won in the G League. He came up to the NBA and won in the NBA, which tells me he's adaptive. People are trying to sell me this Nick Nurse is another Doc Rivers. I already saw it in the chat when I first hit live. Doc Rivers, it's Doc Rivers 2.0. Bro, you got to do a little bit of research. Somebody that won multiple championships in 4 different leagues, I would like to think that's an adaptive coach. That's a coach who looks at talent individually, looks at a whole team's construction, and says, how can I do the best thing possible with what I have in front of me right now? Not, I have a philosophy that I'm going to live by. And if everybody on the roster doesn't match up with that, we're just going to run it straight into the ground until it explodes. That's what Doc Rivers was. This guy has 2 championships in the British League, a championship in the G League and a championship in the NBA. That tells me he's adaptive. And now this. Where's my video at? This John Clark posted, and I like this, and I want you to hear it. Make sure the sound is on. Yeah, listen to this.
You've got to instill that you're playing to win the game, right? I know that sounds really simple, but that is how we're judged. That's why they keep score. You know, all those simple little things. And right under that, though, I always say 1A is, can we increase each player's value in the marketplace?
This is exactly what I'm saying. What are the odds a guy like this who has multiple championships in multiple different leagues comes out and says you have to coach winning? It seems to me like Nick Nurse knows how to win. And then he says, we want to, what did he say? Hold on.
Can we increase each player's value in the marketplace?
Can we increase each player's value in the marketplace? Which means he's sitting down. He's taking the time to look at the whole roster. And he's saying, how can I use this player the best and get the most out of this player? Jalen McDaniels, a Jaden Springer, could have been a Matisse Thybulle, could have been Isaiah Joe. Could be DeAnthony Melton, could be Tyrese Maxey, who I feel like developed himself to this point. Where's he going to go next? You know?
And we spend a lot of time trying to get them better, you know?
Yeah. We just went from a guy that was like, this is how it is, and I need players that fit this mold, and if they don't, I don't know what to do, and I'm just going to let them rot on the bench, to a guy who's going to actually look at each individual player and try to get the most out of them. I like how that sounds.
And what's getting them better? Well, we got to develop them. We got to work with them. We got to do the shooting. We're not afraid to tinker with their shot right when they get here. We're not afraid to put in the time. We're not this and that, but we're also not afraid to, what we do is teach them that winning, you know, we got to coach winning.
Yeah, we got to coach winning.
Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros.